is a great day to be alive, and I am so thankful for God, Jesus Christ, who lives in us. In today's video titled, The Beginning of the Fall, The Rise of God's People, Wealth Transfer, I'm going to be talking about some derived dates that I am praying about, specifically looking at the month of February and the month of April. And then I'll be more specific as far as what week in February and what week in April, and then what major day in February and what major day in April. Before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing that I'm sharing is financial advice. I'm simply sharing dreams, visions, and interpretations that I feel God has given me as it relates to crypto. Now, let's get into the video. So as you see here, I have 4 columns. In the first 2 columns, for those who are new to the channel or have not heard about these 2 dreams, these are 2 major dreams that pretty much build on everything that I have been able to derive and understand so far. These are 2 market crash dreams that I had in 2023, but also note that there have been many dreams from 2023. As you see here, August 17th and September 27th, I've had a lot of dreams going all the way up to the end of 2024. But these 2 dreams are important because they are the ones that help me to derive dates, following the colors and the numbers of days that correspond with each color, as well as the date that was given to me, October 17th. And for the most part, October 17th has been the staple date that I have been trying to understand, which I feel like I understand a little bit more, and I'll share that very quickly in this video. In the third column, you see where I have noted October 17th, 2023. All along, when I first had this dream about October 17th and seeing it on these yellow and red ball, all the balls, I basically thought that October 17th was the date that there will be a market crash. And so 2023 rolled around, October 17th, nothing but major news about Israel. 2024, nothing but major news out of Israel. Actually bigger in 2024 than 2023, because in 2024, we know that the person who masterminded the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023, he was confirmed dead. In between these October 17th dates, 2023 and 2024, I had a dream where God was telling me that the markets would crash in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Then in another dream, God gave me a person and their birthday. And shortly after having that dream, there was a Japan market crash that occurred in the 3rd quarter, our calendar date. And I said our calendar date for a reason, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Here are the 4 keys, what I know now about October 17th. Why October 17th, and what does it mean? I'm coming to understand that October 17th is not all about a specific date for our markets to crash, but it's also about major news about Israel, the Israel war. It's also about, of course, the colors yellow and red when it comes down to doing timelines and deriving dates. These 2 colors, among the other colors, these 2 colors specifically have been the ones that have stuck with me as far as October 17th, because the balls in the dream had that date on them. And so the numbers that correspond with these colors, red 60, yellow 40, that's a total of 100 days. October 17th could also represent a crash or a collapse of some type. In this video that I shared a few weeks ago about why October 17th and what does it mean, I gave several examples of how these colors and putting together a timeline led to a crash or a collapse of some type, whether it was a government or a market crash. October 17th could also represent a leading factor to a crash or a collapse. In other words, sometimes there are situations that I've seen as far as the research and the numbers and everything that I've been putting together, that sometimes it's a leading factor leading you from one yellow and red thing to something about Israel, to something about a collapse, and then in one situation, a market crash. And again, I gave all those examples, several examples in that video. So if you want to go back and see how that was applied and how I have applied those keys in that video, these 4 keys for October 17th, that is in that video. Now, for the simple fact that God has been dealing with me with about Israel since April the 10th, 2023, which goes back farther than those 2 dreams I shared in the very beginning of this video. And so I shared in my first video this year that I felt God leading me to focus on the Hebrew calendar. Now, in the past, I have talked about the Julian calendar. I've used that to also derive dates. And so here we're going to connect both together. I want to kind of explain how connecting both together has helped me to derive these dates, and I'm going to share with you in this video. So why Passover? April 12th through the 20th. And as you can see here, the major focus is April 13th. And so that is my goal, to get you to understand why I feel that God is leading me to a specific day within the month of April, within that time frame of April 12th through the 20th. So here again, my goal or my desire this year is to try to continue to focus on and stay dedicated to what God has given me, to make sure I make myself available to understand the hits of dates and the misunderstandings of a big date, which is October 17th. As it relates to the Hebrew calendar, I felt that God was leading me to do a little bit more digging. So what about the Hebrew calendar? Well, I began to look up just specifically the Hebrew calendar, and I saw that the Hebrew calendar, they began to use it on October 7th, 3761 BCE. And based on the market crash timeline, and based on what happened on each October 17th, 2023 and 2024, it's not a coincidence that this calendar began on October 7th, which was the same day, different year of course, that the Hamas attack occurred in Israel. I took that as a form of confirmation that God is, yes, indeed wanting me to use this Hebrew calendar in some way, but how? Well, the how came when I felt led to go back to the Japan market crash last year of 2023. That Japan market crash happened third quarter, our calendar time. But if I'm looking at the Hebrew calendar only, I'm seeing that the Japan market crash occurred in the fourth quarter Hebrew calendar. So now going back to the dream about the markets were crashing in the third and fourth quarter, I can now say, based on the Hebrew calendar, that the Japan market crash happened in their fourth quarter. And here I have July highlighted, but that should be August that's highlighted and not July. So we can check off the fourth quarter. So now I'm looking for the third quarter Hebrew time, which puts us in this year, the month of April, May, and June. So this is where the month of April first popped out at me. And I'm not going to go through everything that I explained as far as this particular video about reset, but I explained how I got to the point from April 10th, 2023, how God moved me to begin to think about some things, pray about some things, and understand some things that led me to Exodus 12. Exodus 12 is all about Passover. And as I'm reading this and I'm going through this and I'm thinking back even this year, God was leading me to understand that something would have to fall, crash, and die before we receive our wealth transfer. Just like the children of Israel in this particular chapter. Something had to fall from its high place, crash, and die before the children of Israel received their wealth transfer. Egypt had to fall. The Pharaoh had to fall from his high place. The Egyptian economy fell. And the firstborn had to die before Israel received their wealth transfer. Same thing. I feel the same pattern or the same thing has to happen for us. Something has to fall, crash, and die before we receive our wealth transfer. One of the few things that came to mind was, will it be the economy? Will it be the US dollar? Will it be because of a pandemic? Will it be a certain crypto? Would it be the U.S. being involved in a physical war? Would it be an attack on the U.S. soil? Would it be because of some type of cyber attack? There's so many avenues as far as what could fall, crash, and die before we receive our wealth transfer. But in this video, I shared a few things based on dreams that God had given me. And so again, you have to go back and watch that video to see everything, all the details in its entirety. But for now, that is what brought me to Passover. And this year, Passover is April 12th through the 20th. But again, we want to get to that major date, April 13th. So how did I get there? Well, first, I realized that there was a pattern that God was showing me as it relates to market crashes and birthdays. On October 17th, the date given to me in the dream, again, Simwar was confirmed dead on that day. For that reason, I was able to see, through the help of a subscriber, pointed out the fact that his birthday was on October 29th. That is the same day that the first market crash occurred in 1929. So you have a leading indicator. That's one of the four keys. You have the yellow and red because October 17th. You have what happened to him brought about people, for us looking at his birthday. And that leading indicator led us to a crash. In this particular example, it's a market crash. So you have a person's birthday corresponding with the same day as a market crash. So that is what I mean by I'm seeing a pattern about a person's birthday and a market crash. In this situation, the birthday was a different year, but same day. The second example is I told you that God gave me a dream about a person's birthday. and that the Japan market crash happened on his birthday. That's another example of the pattern of a birthday corresponding with a market crash. In this case, it happened on the same day. The third I want to share example will be a new dream that I had on December 28th. And in this dream, I saw one of my students and their mom. I understood something was wrong with the housing market, and that was the end of the dream. So I went to Facebook and I looked up this mom's birthday, and I saw that her birthday was on April the 13th. Now, I had this dream the same night my husband has his dream about the Shiba Inu drop. He saw the Shiba Inu crashing, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we both had a dream about some type of crash. His was about Shiba Inu, and mine was about understanding something about the housing market. Something was wrong. But that's for another video. It's for Shiba Inu. So the takeaway from this dream is this. April 13th falls within the week of Passover. And so my question that I'm asking God is it possible that there's going to be some kind of housing market crash, something that's going to take place on April 13th, which is her birthday? Now, as I stated before, I want to connect the Julian calendar as a form of confirmation. I want to share this. So 2 days before October 17th, the date that I was looking for the markets to crash last year and the previous year, October 15th, I had a dream about Bruno. And in this dream, I saw two pie charts, yellow and red. I went to Facebook and saw that Bruno's birthday was on August the 19th. It just so happened that Bernard's birthday, August 6th, is the Julian date to August the 19th. On August 31st, I had another dream about one pie chart that was yellow and red. And at the top of that pie chart, I saw August 6th written. Again, that is just confirming this Julian date of August 6th, Bruno's birthday, August the 19th, with August 6th being the Julian date again to August the 19th. So I began to look at this August 15th dream this way. The two pie charts that I saw in the Bruno dream, I pretty much split them in half, labeling one August 6th, which represents Bernard, one August 19th, which represents Bruno. In addition to August 19th, we had the blue moon. With my research, I found out that there are two scenarios to derive a blue moon. So in a sense, you have two scenarios representing a blue moon, and you have two dates that represents one event, which is a birthday. Applying this to my egg dreaming and the diagrams, on one side you have the two scenarios for the moon, S1 and S2 written in blue. And then on the other side you have Bernard and Bruno representing the Julian date to Bruno's birthday. So basically for each red and yellow pie, there are two blue eggs to correspond to make up the diagram that I showed on the previous slide. So each person will get a pie chart and two blue eggs. So as you can see here, I labeled Bernard's side as being done simply because there was the market crash that occurred on the date of his birthday. That was the Japan market crash. That was the fourth quarter for the Hebrew calendar. And so now we have to take a look at the other side. Let's take a look at Bruno's side. And so what I did was I correspond the numbers with the colors. Again, yellow and red together is 100 days. Each blue represents 40. Together that makes 80. So I added 180 days from the day that I had this dream, October 15th. And I received the date of April the 13th. Again, I'm seeing April 13th for a second time. My student and his mom, her birthday being on April the 13th. And then now I'm getting a date based on using one of the four keys for October 17th, putting everything together as usual. And then April 13th is the date. Again, we are in the week of Passover, specifically the date of April the 13th. Now moving on to February the 7th through the 14th. I shared in this video how I came to understand a little bit more as it related to a small war. In this video, basically, I concluded what I now understand as far as trade war, tariffs, and small war, and how these topics connect to two dreams that I shared in that video. And so my question was, would the U.S. be involved in a small trade war dealing with tariffs? Or is this pointing out that the U.S. will be in a small physical war of some sort, meaning small, meaning not lasting for a long time, very short. Also in this video, I shared how I derived the date of February the 14th. You have to go back and watch that video to see how I got that date. But it was derived using one or more of the four October 17th keys. The second way this February 14th date stuck out was based on another dream. And also in that video, I derived how I got that February 14th date. So 2 confirmations confirming February the 14th. Again, you have to go back and watch that video. And then we've, of course, shared the 2 confirming ways that I received April the 13th. So something that I have not shared yet is the date of January the 25th. How did I get that? Well, in the video that I put out titled Why October 17th and What Does It Mean? I shared, again, various examples of actual things that I did to kind of walk you guys through how I was able to derive these dates. I decided to do something. One of the things I decided to do was something that I had never thought to do before, and that was to do a Google search for October 17th, yellow October 17th and red October 17th. Well, in my research, I found out yellow October represents something to do with the Hamas and Israel war, the yellow ribbon. I didn't think that was a coincidence. Being that all of this, as far as the timeline of what God has been dealing with me with, has to do with Israel. And not only that, it goes back to the Hebrew calendar and when it began, October 7th, many, many years ago. When I looked up red October 17th, what came up is the Russian Revolution. And what caught my eye with this was that the flag that was used during that time was yellow and red. The flag was yellow and then it had a red symbol on it. The flag was red with a yellow symbol on it. Not only that, but a government collapsed on that day. The Russian government collapsed on that day. So here I am doing a basic research in 2025 with leading indicators that are leading me to this Russian Revolution. I'm seeing the colors of red and yellow on their flag, and it's also leading me to understand something about a collapse. That's what I mean by it's not always about October 17th. It's not always about a market crash. It can be about a market crash, but it could also be a leading indicator of some kind of collapse of a government or an economy. So I decided to start with October 17th of last year, simply because that was when things got a little fuzzy for me, and when I started really seeking God for understanding on what's happening, what's next, why October 17th. So what I did was I went back to October 17th and I applied the yellow and red 100 days. And when I did that, I got the date of January the 25th. And as I prayed about this date, what came to mind is a question that I asked God. Did January 25th mark the start of economic issues ahead for the U.S.? And I don't fully understand why this question has been laid on my heart for me to even ask God that. But that's what I'm asking him. That's what I'm asking him now. Did January 25th mark the start of economic issues ahead for the U.S.? And this will be an umbrella question, if I can say it that way. And then I'm going to be more specific to certain issues within the month of February and April. Things that I think that may take place based on those major dates. But for now, just looking at this idea of major economic issues, on January 26th, we saw a big issue arise as it related to tariffs. Again, that is something that I feel God has been dealing with me and showing me things about that. So on January 26th, we heard in the news about the tariffs that Trump wanted to put on Colombia because they did not want to receive those being deported from the U.S. And so that was a big deal on the 26th. On the 27th, we saw, as far as the stock market goes and the market goes, a lot was going on as far as seeing major drops in tech stocks as it related to this deep seek. I don't know why I want to call it deep fake, but deep seek as it relates to China. And when you think about China, their flag, the colors, yellow and red. So I think that there's more there. But for now, I'm just stating just major economic issues, this big umbrella of issues that I feel started on January 25th. The next major economic issue, I would say, is the DEI. DEI. And we see that coming into play now as we hear about the news, Lord, the sad news about the airplane crash that happened over Washington, D.C. And at this point, I'm hearing a lot in the news that Trump is stating that the DEI program is the reason for why what happened. I'm not going to get into that. This is basically what I'm hearing in the news. But I see that this DEI has blown up very big in the past few days. But in this situation with this airplane crash, it seems as if it's becoming a major issue at this point. And I'll just leave that at that. So again, I'm paying close attention to this question. Did January 25th mark the start of major economic issues ahead for the U.S.? Now, on a lighter note, we're going to talk about XRP in February the 15th. I shared in this video titled, Should We Expect to Hear News About XRP on February the 15th? I explain why I'm asking that question and why I'm praying about this date. You would have to go back and watch that video to see how that date was derived. But overall, here are all the videos that all of these dates and the explanations can be found. What I'm doing here is I'm combining all the derived dates and their Julian date, because that has been what I've been using. I've been using the Julian date. I have been using, at this point, looking into the Hebrew calendar and compared it with our calendar. And so here are the three sections of dates. The first one, again, February the 7th through the 14th. The Julian date for that is January the 25th through February the 1st, which is not a coincidence that January 25th was a derived date. But when I look at it as a Julian date, it is a Julian date to February the 7th. And so to me, that's confirming that there's something about this 25th date that needs to be looked at carefully and prayed about very carefully. But those are the dates, again, with the major date being February the 14th. In this time frame, I'm looking to hear news about tariff, small wars, small trade wars, something to do with the U.S. being involved in it, something that's big news. February the 15th, again, that is designated to XRP news, some major news about XRP. The Julian date for that is February the 2nd. Again, major focus is on the 15th. The week of Passover, April 12th through the 20th. The major focus again is on April the 13th. The Julian date to this particular one is March the 31st. And because this corresponds with Passover as it relates to what God had led me to as far as the book of Exodus, Exodus 12, I'm looking for some type of wealth transfer to occur or to happen around that time. So really quick, before I end this video, I do want to point out the news about Colombia and the tariffs that Trump was about to impose on them as far as not receiving those being deported back. Coffee stood out to me because the AOC talked about or shared her thoughts about this tariff and what it would do as far as coffee and how it would cause the consumers in America to have to spend more because of this tariff. Now, the first thing I want to point out is the Colombia flag. Now, yellow and red stands out because of it's one of the 4 keys for October 17th. Blue does correspond with the colors from my dream, but right now I'm looking at yellow and red. And that's about it as far as the flag colors. Now, getting back to the coffee, I had a dream that I shared a while back, November 17th to be exact. And in that dream, I saw 3 mugs of coffee. 2 of them had U.S. economy written within the coffee cream, and the other had world economy. And they were all the same size mugs. My drawing's a little bit off, but they were all the same size. And my thought process during that time is that the U.S. economy, because coffee is a stimulant, is going to need twice as much stimulation to keep our economy afloat. Stimulus checks is what I thought about. During this time, I was thinking about a pandemic. Will there be another major pandemic that's going to take place? Now that all this has come up and coffee has been involved as it relates to tariffs and the issue about the consumer spending more, if these tariffs was to be imposed on Colombia, it tacks on another question. Would tariffs be the reason why the economy would need twice as much stimulation? Or is it the fact that we need twice as much stimulation and therefore we have tariffs? I'm not a tariff expert. I don't know little to nothing about it. All I go by is what I hear in the news or some that may explain it on YouTube. But for the most part, I know nothing about it. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. But could it be a combination of both? Could it be a combination of something to do with another pandemic that's coming, which later on, after I had this dream, we hear about bird flu and all that. And then now this tariff and what happened with Colombia brings me back to this dream simply because of coffee. So that is my thought process about that. It's not complete, but that's just bring me back to this dream. So here again, I'm going to show the dates one more time so you can see the dates and the things that, I'm praying about, specifically specific topics and things. And then here I also have a picture of my little writing where I was jotting down these dates, and when I jotted these dates down, January 19th, I talked about another video and I just rewrote it here because that was a derived date based on these 4 keys of October that I was applying. And then on the other side, you see XRP and the date, and all of that was January the 21st was when I came up with that. Now, you may see Russia on here on October 7th. That is a totally another video, but it's very unique in a way, and I'm going to be sharing that video. And so that is all that I have for this video. I hope and pray that the explanations, if you go back and watch those videos, that they're clear, that you see why I'm saying these specific time frames with specific, or I should say, major dates. And so I am praying about the month of February and the month of April, and these leading indicators or factors that will bring us to see what God has promised us, and that is a great wealth transfer. That is all that I have for this video. Until the next one, God bless.